Hello, this is Angela Anderson, and today I'm going to be doing a stargazer lily and tulip and lilac painting with some asters in it. It's really fun, boho sort of inspired black and white vase, and it's the sister painting to one that I did a couple of weeks ago here with roses and daisies and some delphiniums. I was told these are delphiniums, so by a helpful YouTuber. And I had so much fun with this one that I thought I just have to do a second one to go with it. And I'm using the same colors, but just arranging them in a different way. So you can kind of see how you can do two paintings that sort of coordinate, but aren't exactly matchy-matchy. So I've started out with my canvas covered with a coat of cadmium yellow medium, and I've added just a little bit of white to it. I felt like it was a little bit on the orangey side in the background on this one. It's really like in-your-face bright, which I loved, but I thought I'd try it with a little bit toned down version. So if you've prepped your canvas with the cadmium yellow ahead of time, I'm sorry, I did change it just a little bit on you. But it'll be fine. It'll look just like my example one. I'm going to use chalk and sketch it out with chalk. I've got a few brushes that we'll be using today. So like a large 3/4 inch flat, an angle brush. This one's a 3/8 inch angle, a small filbert, about 1/4 inch filbert or so, a 1/4 inch flat brush with the long, then you can use a bright instead if you want to. I've got a round number 4, a round number 2, and a smaller liner. And so I'm going to start out by just sketching. Oh, I've also got a sea sponge. So if you've got one of those, that's great. If you don't have one of these, you can use like a deerfoot stippler or something like that to stipple in the background greenery. I'm going to use my chalk, and I'm just going to draw out where I want my vase to be. So I think I want it just off center, and I'm going to, I don't know if you can see that against the yellow. Let me see if I should change my chalk color to, I'll change it to red. There we go. Now you can see it. And I'm just doing kind of a V shape with about, I don't know, 2 finger width in between them, maybe 3 fingers, like that. And just try to get my angles the same so that I don't have one side kind of angling off this way. So just kind of try to angle them like you're drawing a V with a big space in between. And I'm going about halfway up the canvas, and then I'll do my line across like that. Okay. And let's go ahead and paint that in, and then we can draw out some of our flowers. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do it a little bit different. I think I'm going to draw my flowers first and then put in my vase. So I'm going to do the background greenery now that we know where our vase is going to be. This way we can get our greens right up next to it. So my color palette is Ultramarine Blue. This is a light Ultramarine Blue. It's just Ultramarine Blue plus white. So if you don't have it, you can mix it. Phthalo Blue, Cobalt Teal, Phthalo Green. This is Vivid Lime Green, which you can get by mixing Phthalo Green and Cad Yellow. Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Yellow Light, Cad Red Light, Cad Red Medium, and Dioxazine Purple. I'm sorry, not Dioxazine Purple. That's Quinacridone Magenta, and Carbon Black and White, Titanium White. Okay, so I'm going to use my sea sponge, and I'm going to dab in my 2 greens here. Try not to make a mess. Did this a little bit differently on the other one. I did my vase, painted in my vase first, and then did this greenery, but I thought, you know, if I do this greenery first, and I can get it kind of over the edge of the lip of the vase and right up next to it, and I don't have to worry about getting it in on my vase. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. We'll let that dry. We'll paint in our vase, and then we'll sketch in our flowers. So I am going to just tap in lightly with my sponge everywhere that I want my flowers to kind of go. So this will just help have the colors underneath your flowers, and that way if there's a little bit of a gap, you see the greenery behind it and it doesn't look like the flowers are floating out into space. That way we don't have to draw stems and all that into it either. It's just a little bit easier way of doing it. Just don't get too solid on it. You kind of want to leave your edges kind of fluffy, and I'm going to do some flowers up over it, so stop before you think you need to. You kind of just want it behind the main body of your flowers. You don't want it all the way up to the edge of where you're going to be painting. So I'm leaving some space around the outsides here for my flowers and things to kind of go beyond this area. This is just our like underneath part. You won't see much of it. Okay, I think that's about good. So leave a good space here for all these ones to kind of come out over. All right, that's good. Do that. Wash your hands really well because you will have green everywhere. Glad we got our audio fixed. I had a little bit of audio issues earlier. I've got my husband Mark with me, but he's in the other room, so he's not Skyping with us today. I don't know. He can come in here if he wants to now and chat with me. So let me grab my flat brush here, and I'm going to grab some of my black. If you don't have carbon black, just use whatever black you've got. And on this one, we painted the white part and then did the black stripes over. And on this other one, I think I'm going to just do a black vase and do the white polka dots on it. So we kind of flipped it. Yeah, I'm not hearing you, so I need you in here so I can hear you.
And then you cut me off.
Well, I did my edges a little bit scruffy, so you can see a little bit of the white around the outside. It sort of looks a little bit distressed or whatever. I did that on my other one too, so I wanted them to kind of have the same look about it. So I'm stopping my vase just before the end, just leaving a tiny bit of white on there. And I'm just going to fill it in with the black. If I use the side edge of my brush, I'm going to flip it around. This is why I don't like working on an easel. I know a lot of people prefer easels. I need that other painting that you just put out of my reach there. But I like to be able to flip my canvas around and use it use the angles that I want. So I find for myself that it's easier to paint in the same direction that I would normally write. So I like to kind of flip my canvas on that angle so that I can get a smoother line when I'm painting. Now, of course, when I'm doing murals, I literally am hanging upside down. Sometimes I'm not kidding you. I've been like this upside down, like almost to get the right angle for painting. Sometimes you kind of have to manipulate your wrist in weird ways when you're doing murals because the wall won't flip for you. So if you're doing this on an easel, don't feel like you can't grab it and flip it on its end or on its side or whatever you need to do to make it work for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this black all the way up across here. I've got Mark moved back into my studio here. We were trying to Skype together, have him in the other room, but our audio was flipping out on us earlier. So
YouTube open on your computer was looping it.
yeah, it was. Yep. I had the chat window open and it was looping it. As soon as I closed that up, I knew better than to do that because I had that happen on my Christmas show. When I was doing Christmas cookies, I had to delete half of my Christmas cookie video because it was looped. And I didn't know until it was halfway through and somebody finally said, "Hey, you're echoing." I was like, oh. That's why I need a partner that's paying helping me in
Well,
here.
I had you distracted beforehand. We forgot that it was open.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I somehow got some green down here, so if you get a little bit of paint where you don't want it, you can usually wipe it right off if you catch it before it dries completely. So I'm able to just wipe that off there. Just don't rub too hard because you can lift off your undercoat. Okay, looking good. I'm liking it. All right, so I'm going to grab my chalk here. I won't draw over the top of my vase, but we'll be doing our center of our first flower right here. Let's switch back to that white chalk. You can buy like a pack of colored chalk for like $1 or $2, and I would highly recommend grabbing it because I use it all the time for this. It's one of my really prefer it more than pencil or watercolor pencils or anything else because it's just easy to erase. Okay, so I'm going to do my lilies right here. So it's just coming up off of this corner of the vase just a little bit, and I will go over the top of it, but I can't do it right now because it's black. Paint is still wet. I'm just doing 6 petals, and they're in a just doing a rounded point on either end. So it's pointed here and pointed here. So curve, point to a point, and then curve it back up to where you started. Hope you can see that. And I think I want to put another really big one right up here. And start out with this center circle here so I know where I'm going with it. Just do my curved lines. These are going to be my 2 focal point flowers, so I want to get those in the most strategic places first, and then I'll fill my other flowers in around them. So whenever I'm designing a painting like this, that's what I start out with, is my largest flowers, the ones that I want to be my focal point, and then I build around them. So this one's got a little bit of space in here for something to go on, so I think I'll put my 3 asters right here, here, and another one down here that's kind of overlapping the vase right here. Okay, then I will do my tulip up here, my first tulip. I want it to be pretty big, might a little bit smaller than that maybe. It's just an oval shape, so whatever direction the oval is facing, the top right here will be the narrowest part. Does that make sense? So it's a little bit longer than wide. So the long end will have your opening for the tulip. And let's do one over here facing this direction, so the opening will be right here. I don't know if you can see that very well, but hopefully you get the idea. And then I think, so I want to put one of my lilac pieces going in this direction, and then maybe another aster right here and another aster over here. And then we'll do another aster over in this direction and do a tulip here real close up to the vase, pointing down in this direction. And trying to see if I want to put another one over here. I don't know. I'll do my lilac going this way. I'm just doing a little bit for it. I don't want to sketch it out completely. I put my greenery way too low here. I did what I told you not to do. So now I'm going to have to fill in this area with something. So I'm going to just fill it in with some leaves here. There we go. And do some more over here. We'll do some Let me see. We'll do some little round berry things over here. Do some. I just need to figure out where I want to fit all of this. I kind of put it a little bit crowded over on this end, so I don't want to run out of room to put all the elements that I want in here. So I need to do some leaves right here, I think. There. I'm doing it a little bit differently than my example one, so that's why I'm taking a while with this. Sorry. You're getting to see how I figure out how to place things. Here, let me see. I think I feel like I want another tulip out here, so let's do another one kind of facing this direction. And we'll put our lilacs in this area right here. Fill up that whole area with the lilacs. And then do our little leaf thing right here. Leaves, berries, more leaves, more leaves right here. We'll see once we get the colors in. It's usually easier to just kind of figure it out as I go. So once I get my colors going, we'll be able to tell what we've got room for. So to start out, I'm going to paint my lilies in, almost call them lilacs, with white. I know they're going to end up pink, but I wanted to start with the white, just cover up all this green. That will help our second coat to go on a little bit better. And I'm just using my angle brush here to fill it in really quickly. How's it going with chat, Mark?
Oh, good. They're just talking about where they paint you. Your comment about painting flat on a table rather than on an easel.
Oh, right.
Different people doing that.
Very good.
Some of their dining tables have been taken over by painting.
Oh, my dining table was my painting space for years and years and years. So, using the edge of my brush here to kind of draw my line, and then I'm just filling it in a little bit. And Stickman is here today in the studio. I'll bring him out here in a little bit. Somebody was asking for him earlier. I gave him a little surprise for, you know, 4th of July is tomorrow, and we painted a flag with him last week, so I added, I gave him a little bit of a flag there. That's really badly painted, but, you know, Stickman is
He's going through an
primitive
evolution for sure.
He is, so every painting I'll be adding something new to him. So we'll see what happens with him today. I don't know. What will we add to Stickman today? This has been an unusually busy week for me, so it's nice to just kind of finally be painting this, because it feels like I painted this on Wednesday actually, so I'm kind of late getting this ready for y'all. And then Thursday I painted the Star Trek painting that I did with Clive and just uploaded that this morning, so that was really fun. That was actually the first time I've ever painted any kind of thing for a galaxy type painting, so it was a learning experience for sure. I enjoyed it though. It was really fun. Really fun. So today you got a bonus video. You got 2 videos for one. Next weekend I have no idea, because I won't be here next Saturday. So I know I said that I'm live streaming every Saturday, and then I realized there's 2 Saturdays this month that I won't be at home at all. So it's not going to be possible. We're going to be in Tulsa, and then I'll be in Branson next weekend. So we'll have a video for you of some sort. It won't be live next week, but I'll be back the following week after that, and then I think I have 2 or 3 weeks solid of live shows, and then we'll go away again. So, but I'll be sure to post the live stream schedule on my channel so you can see it. And if you haven't joined already, I have my Thankful Art group. I keep informed about all of my classes and everything that I'm going to be doing. And I think Mondays I'm going to start a live chat in my Thankful Art group just on Facebook, just for Facebook folks that have joined that group. And it'll just be really informal, no really set plan or anything. I'll just start the live stream and chat about what I'll be doing that week, I think, and answer questions or whatever. So it should be fun because I've got a really good group of people in that Thankful Art group there on Facebook. So I thought that would be a fun way to get to know them. And then also in my Angelini group that I share with Cinnamon Cooney, I'll be doing them a live chat on Fridays. So next week that'll start. It'll be fun. Which I'm not really super excited about, but I did buy myself a selfie stick. I finally broke down and bought a selfie stick. Really not happy about it because I hate being on camera, but for my Facebook friends, I will do. Now, if you ever see it on YouTube, then you'll know I've really gone off the rails because I really do actually want to do some vlogging on Facebook or on my YouTube channel here because I know people like to see you in person, but I'm a little bit shy. So I'm going to start out with my people that I know on Facebook, and then we'll see if I'm brave enough to put it on YouTube after that.
There was a question, not about this painting, about your Star Trek painting of why you painted everything dark blue. And
then painted the white around it. I mean, you could do it either way. I just had started out with the dark blue background because it's just easier for me to just paint it all solid. And I don't know. Honestly, really, that is one of the paintings that I could have done it either way. A lot of times I like to let the background colors show through, but in that case I really didn't. So yeah, you could definitely just paint around it. Honestly, it was because I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do that painting until I got in the middle of it. That was one that I didn't have time to like do an example painting, so I was just doing it on the fly, like I was just figuring it out as I went along. So in hindsight, yes, I probably could have just painted the background white and then did the inside part the dark blue, but also it's just easier when you're just dealing with the boundary, that you don't have to worry about getting, like if I had painted it white, I think I would have worried about getting the colors on that white part and stressed out a little bit about it more. Because it was just outlined, then I could just paint freely and then worry about outlining it later, and everything got covered up, so it didn't matter. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yep.
Okay, so that's painted. Those are painted in the white there. And let's go ahead and start basing in some of our flowers here. I wanted to make my tulips a red undertone, so make them kind of orangey. So I'm using Cadmium Red Medium here. I'm just going to fill them in. I still have a little bit of white in my brush. That's all right. Just do the rough oval. Filling it in. I feel like it's quiet since I don't have you in my ear now. It's kind of... I was used to being able to hear you chatting in my ear.
You shut me down.
I did shut you down. Well, and it wasn't even your fault. It was my fault.
I'm just thankful it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Well, I was part of the fault.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm not running at 100% right now. I was distracted by all the other stuff that I was having to get done.
A true professional, though.
You got to see the restart. Those who were here early for the very beginning of it got to see the panic and restart. So
Yeah, you got to see the adventure.
yeah, of live.
When it goes wrong.
Yeah, when it goes wrong, it goes really wrong. It can be bad.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we figured it out. I was about ready to cry. Just filling in with my angle brush. If you don't have an angle brush, just use whatever brush you're comfortable with. I get asked questions about brush usage all the time, like why I use certain brushes for certain things. Honestly, I just use whatever brush feels comfortable for me. So if you don't feel comfortable with an angle brush and you feel better about using a round brush or a flat brush or whatever brush is like your favorite go-to brush, use that by all means. You don't have to use what I'm using. Yeah, and especially like with me, it's really weird when I buy a new brush. It takes me a while to get comfortable with it. It's like a new friendship almost. You just kind of like at first you're not really sure exactly how to work with it, but then after a while you kind of can predict how it's going to behave, and it becomes a little bit more comfortable. So I just say, when you get a new brush, or if you're new to painting, just give it some time. It's going to feel uncomfortable and weird. It's like learning golf or learning to play the piano or learning any kind of new skill. It just takes time to develop the confidence and level of comfort with it. So I kind of don't know if I want my third tulip now that I'm seeing. Those are awfully bright, but I think I will. I'm ignoring the rule of thirds. I'm going for it. I've got 2 lilies and I'm going to go for 4.
What's the rule of thirds?
Well, in decorating and in design, generally you want to go with 1s, 3s, 5s, multiples of odd numbers, instead of like 2s and 4s. It's just like more pleasing to the eye, apparently. So I'm breaking all the rules right now. I am going rogue. Don't tell the art police, because they'll call me on it. I really honestly, I don't pay a lot of attention to all of the rules. I was self-taught. I did go to college for this, but pretty much our professors were like, they taught us the basics, but then when it came to painting, my art teacher was a potter, and so he didn't really like teach techniques on how to paint at all, and it really drove me crazy. So I kind of pretty much just taught myself how to paint. I grabbed books and watched Bob Ross, except for if you try to do oil painting techniques with acrylics, it doesn't work. You can get the same look as with acrylics. You just have to approach it differently. So you can't like do like Bob Ross does and like paint your clouds in and then come back 10 minutes later and blend them out. It doesn't happen that way with acrylics. So you can get clouds to look like Bob Ross painted them, but you can't do it the same way he did it. I learned that the hard way. I had a lot of frustrating years of trying to paint stuff. He's awesome though, and he's on Netflix now, which I'm excited for. I just like to listen to him. He really is one of the first people that got me excited about painting in general. And he just had the most interesting way of talking, and I don't know, he just loved art. He loved painting, and he again was kind of one that was did his own thing. The fine art world didn't really accept him, but he didn't care. He just did his thing, and people loved him for it. So, and he helped a lot of people to learn how to paint. So, okay, I'm going to go in with my asters here. I've got my Ultramarine Blue and just a teeny tiny bit of white just to kind of soften it up so it doesn't look black when it gets on my yellow here. The yellow will kind of turn it really dark. And I'm just kind of going in a rough circle. Oh, I forgot I've got a zoom in camera. I'll do that. Zoom for these. Here we go. Boom. How you like that?
Oh, bam, like Emerald.
Bam. Yeah, bam. Do you remember when we used to watch Emerald live all the time, and Spencer was little, and he would He was probably 2 or 3, and he'd walk up to the camera and say, "Bam!" And
Just
do
like
you remember
Emerald.
that? Just
Yep.
like Emerald. That was
Yeah.
so cute. I forgot all about that. Okay, so I'm just using the tip to kind of draw in my shape. But anyhow, going back to learning to paint, like honestly, this has been so fun for me to get to know some of the folks that are trying to like get back into painting after years and years of being told that they couldn't paint or thinking that they didn't have any talent for painting because they tried it, once a long time ago and somebody told them that they weren't good enough or whatever. That I really feel like it's a skill. I mean, you can have some natural talent for it and that'll help, but when it comes right down to it, all it takes is some practice and some know-how. Learn some techniques and practice them, and you can paint. I get really frustrated with my adult students are the worst about this because they get really discouraged if they can't paint theirs to look like mine when they have never painted before. And I'm thinking, I've painted for 20 something years. Yours is not going to look exactly like mine right off the bat. I mean, sometimes they can get it really, really close, but I just feel like you guys, adults don't give themselves enough room to just kind of learn and grow, and they're really, really hard on themselves. And I get really discouraged for you when you feel like you can't paint, and when I know you can. You just have to keep at it. So that's my word of wisdom for today.
So it's like trying to learn to ride a bike. You fall off, keep getting back
right,
on,
yeah, keep getting back on, keep trying. It's not going to be comfortable or feel normal or even maybe look the way you want it to look right at first, but you just got to keep at it, and it'll eventually get there. Oops, I just did that one off camera. Boom, sorry. Here, I need to go back to my wide shot so I don't do that. I'm really bad about it. Okay, so I decided that I needed one over here now that once I got these other colors on there. Look, it's red, white, and blue for 4th of July.
But you got even numbers again. 2 white, 4 red, 6 blue.
I know. Okay, so I think I'm going to put another blue down over here maybe. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. I had it up here originally, but I think that that's too close to these ones. In fact, I kind of wish I hadn't done that one and did this one instead.
Do it if you don't feel like it. Don't crowd.
No, I'm going to do it. I'm going for it. I think I'm going to put it right here, actually. Like it's kind of peeking down right here. It needs some. There we go. He'll be just a baby one. All right, clean all that blue out. We'll go ahead and put our purple in for our lilacs. I'm going to switch to my filbert brush for that. And I'm going to use my Ultramarine Blue and my Quinacridone Magenta to make a purple. You could use dioxazine purple if you have it. These two together make a really nice purple that's fairly close to the dioxazine purple. So, what are you doing?
Checking out what kind of camera you have.
It's a Handycam, Sony Handycam.
What I was asking. Sony Handycam.
Yep.
Was that bothering you?
Yes. Mark's like got his head in front of my camera. Like, what are you doing? Slightly distracting. Oh my goodness. What am I going to do with you? All right, so I am going to just tap in with this brush here. We did this with the sister painting. We did the delphinium this way. This time I'm just doing them in purple. So basically the same technique, just tapping. I even did a little quick tips video, which I need to do some more of those. I'm going to do a quick tips video about leaves hopefully next week. So that'll be up, and then I may just add some of the footage and do another one about with the lilies and tulips too. So that way, if you're doing this painting and that's the part that you're struggling with, you can watch that little part of the video and not have to watch through the whole thing to catch that part. So let's see, new one here. Just tapping, leaving a little bit of that background color showing. It's going to look really dark at first, but we're going to put our lighter colors over the top so it'll look better. How are we doing, Mark?
Doing good. Tina wants to know if you what you use for the first tulip color.
This is Cadmium Red. Cadmium Red Medium. Okay, let me see. Let me curve that in this way because I feel like this looks like it's like a line of purple there. So I may do another one. Let's see. This sketchbook is, or this canvas is wider than my sketchbook by quite a bit. So I'm having to fill in more of this open space than I did on my sketchbook. So I think I want a third lilac piece coming off over here. I'm going to do it up here.
And there's been a lot of great paintings that people have been posting from your last.
Oh my gosh, yes. So many good ones for the last. Okay. I don't know if I love that, but I should have listened to you.
Because I'm the expert.
Yeah.
Where do you get artist tape? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, they sell it at arts and crafts stores. I use painter's tape too. That's the blue stuff that you can get at like Lowe's. Grab, it's in, looks like that. Yeah, so if you want to paint off your vase or tape off your vase and paint it that way, those are really good. Also, like they sell like more narrow widths in your the drafting section of the arts and crafts places. They have all kinds of different tapes and different widths and things. So, okay, let's see. What do we still need to do? Let's do some leaves with the teal color. We need some teal in here. So this is that Cobalt Teal. This was the background color for our other painting, and I just decided I didn't want to do this for the background on this one. I wanted to do them a little bit differently. So I'm trying to think here where I want to put these. So I'll put one here. I'm going to use the tip of my brush to draw in my stem and then just fill in my leaves. This shape is just like what we did for our lilac. It's just curved to a point and then curved back to the starting point. And we'll add some darker color to it too.
Ian suggested to use a mahl stick for straight lines. But I don't know what that is. So the mahl stick is used with oil.
Yeah, it's got a little pointy, it's got a little like a soft tip so you can lean it right against your canvas. You can prop it on your canvas while you're working so you don't touch your hand into wet paint. Yeah, I need to get one. You can make yourself one, I guess. I don't have one. I usually just use my hand. And kind of use it as a prop if I'm doing something and need to be careful about it. Okay, let's put in some leaves. I feel like I want some leaves coming out over here. Do one right here. And then do a couple down this way. Like that one kind of crisscross the line. We'll make these a little bit darker. We'll shadow them and highlight them too. So I just wanted to get some of this bright turquoise into this painting since there was so much of it in the other one in order for them to kind of match. The reason I chose the yellow for the background of this one is because the yellow was the pretty much second most predominant color in this one. There was just a lot of it going on, and I thought so that they would match, that the yellow would be a good color to choose for the background of this one. And then so I want to use enough of this teal in this painting to make it look like it goes with that one too, if that makes sense. So put a few leaves down here. This won't, if it doesn't cover over your black like that, grab a little bit of white and just use that in with your paint, and then you can go back in and add in your other color on top. That's a little trick. So do that first, and then we can come back in and add more of the brighter turquoise in later. Over the top of the white. Okay, before I get too much farther, I think I want to go ahead and put in my dots on my vase here. So I'm going to grab my number 2 round and some white. And I'm going to kind of press it flat so that it's kind of flattened out, almost like a flat brush. And I'm going to just start up here at the top, and I probably should have done this before I put in flowers or anything on there, but I'm not working on all cylinders today. I kind of feel like this, I always get a little bit flustered when things don't go right at first. Okay, so use it. I'm going to skip right here because I don't want to interfere with the flower, so I'm just going to fit one in right here and just fit them in around my leaves. And then go, I'm kind of doing every other row, so if there's one above it, I kind of go in between for the next one, but you can fill it in however you want. It really doesn't matter. It's just, this one is nice because I really like this kind of painting, and I wish I did more. In fact, I was thinking I might try to do some of these that are a little bit fancier and put them in my in the gallery in Little Rock, because they're so much fun to paint. When I do my fine art paintings, they're always so kind of fussy. And okay, see, so those got too close together there. That's fine. I'm going to start being a little bit more random about it. Just trying to keep them about equal distance apart. That's the main thing. The more imperfect about it they are, they're kind of, I think they're more charming that way myself. That's kind of, this sort of painting is very primitive, kind of, so it's a little bit less intimidating for a beginner to do because you don't, it can be kind of playful and imperfect. Awesome. Isn't that fun? Okay. Let's keep on adding some more leaves.
People like what you did with the vase there.
Yeah,
you
good.
Like that technique?
Yeah, isn't it fun?
Yeah.
Just plopping the brush down.
Plopping?
Plopping, that's a technical term.
Okay.
Yeah. Spritz with some water here. My palette is getting a little bit dry.
Did you come up with that idea on your own for the vase, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought, well, we did stripes on the other one, so let's do polka dots with this one. But I didn't want to do like perfectly round polka dots, so I thought the elongated ones would be pretty. I'm sure I saw it somewhere. Honestly, I don't like copy things, but you see things and they kind of stick in your head. And later on, when you go to paint and design something, you'll think, hey, yeah, it just comes to mind. But chances are I saw somebody else do the exact kind of same vase somewhere, and I.
Like a strawberry.
What do you mean, like a strawberry?
Strawberry seeds.
What are you talking about?
Your vase.
Oh, it looks like a strawberry seed. Okay, yeah. Sorry. It's like, what are you
Sorry.
talking about? Why would strawberries get stuck in my head?
You're like an engineer.
You're like an engineer, yeah. Oh. Yeah, like Mark was so funny last night. I'm going to tell on you what you're doing last night. So he was like downloading all these different phone apps that did different things. Camera apps, sorry, yes, camera apps. And so he was making me film him like walking across the room, and then he would, I don't know, they were doing all kinds of weird things. I was like, I'm too tired for this. Like, he's usually the one I'm asleep by 9, and it's like 11 o'clock, and he's like, oh, look at this one. Here, film me doing that, or look at why I just filmed the kitchen. I'm like, why are we doing this? I'm so tired. I don't want to think about it. Like, oh, it's so funny. I love you. And then this morning too, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get really technical on you. I'm like, no, not ready for that. I need to have some caffeine first. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Poor Audie G. Audie Gustafson is another artist, a friend of mine, and we went down to Houston together. She got to see my morning personality. It's not nearly as nice as my afternoon personality. Like, oh my gosh. And she's just like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm like, I can't even think about anything until I wake up. It takes me about till noon before I'm like functional. Notice that's why all my chats and my videos are afternoon, because I don't do any that are like 8 a.m. You would not like me then. And I certainly would not like you then. No, not at all. Oh my goodness. I'm going to put another one. So I have three. I think I want 3 in this little section here. So I'm going to do another one off of here. A little bit smaller. Making some design choices as I go. This is kind of how I work, honestly. I don't do a lot of pre-planning when I'm painting. I'm more comfortable with the paint than I am with drawing. So I just tend to do a rough sketch of what I think I want it to look like, and then just go for it. And once I'm like in the middle of it and the paint's actually on the canvas, then I can kind of stop and sit back and go, okay, yeah, it needs something over here. And I can picture it better that way. So
Linda wants to know, if you don't have Cad Red Light, what could you use instead?
Here, let me grab my color chart right here. I'll show you some reds. So this is Cad Red Light, and it's very orangey red, right? And there's Cad Red Medium next to it there, and it's a lot brighter. So Phthalo Red Light is similar, but it's really pretty much of the reds. If you look at them, I mean, there's really none that's quite that orangey. So you could probably take the Cadmium Red Medium and add some yellow to it, Cad Yellow, and that'll make it more of that orangey color. That's probably the only way of getting something similar. They're just, it's kind of a, I was just actually having this conversation with one of my admins, Patricia, in my Thankful Art group, because she didn't have that color either. So yes, and I've heard that if you're going to, now I don't know if this is true, I think I'm going to test this because I think it would make a fun video, but it just, that if you have Cad Red Light and Cad Yellow Light, that you can make all the other cadmium reds, like Cadmium Red Mediums and Cadmium Yellow Medium and Cadmium Yellow Deep and Cad Red Deep, from the lighter versions. But you can't do the opposite, like they don't go both ways. So I want to test that because I can kind of see where that's true, because the cadmium yellows especially are very different. This one's much more orange. The medium value, or medium color, is much more on the orange side than this one is much more of a like really bright like lime yellow, or like a almost greenish yellow, fluorescent. That's the word I'm looking for, not lime. Sorry. Okay, so I think we're good on the leaves. I think I'm happy with those. We've got a lot of teal going on in there. Here, that's what I wanted. And we'll bring some berries or something over here around the side. I guess we probably need to do that. Let me grab my liner or the round brush and some of this phthalo green. If your paints are starting to dry out and you've tried to spray them and they're just not like getting moist again, what you can do is take a paper bag or a plastic bag and spritz them down a couple of times and set another plate on top of them. So set another plate in there and put it in the bag together. So like this, spray, 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 put another plate on there, stick it in a bag and leave it for a couple hours, and then bring it back, and the moisture in the humidity in the bag will kind of re-moisturize and reactivate your paints and soften them back up. So little trick, because sometimes when they start to dry on you, they form a film, and then when you can spray them all you want, but because they've kind of like formed this little hardened film, they don't, the moisture doesn't get down into them. But when you put them in the bag, somehow it does. It kind of soaks in there. Just a little quick tidbit for you. Okay, let me see here. I want to do some berries, so let's do some berries over here. Let's do some berries coming off right here. I'm using cadmium, or I'm using my phthalo green here. And then let's do some, we're a little bit tight in this area, but I think I can fit some right here, coming down from here this way. I'm just using my fingers to rub out those. That's chalk, but you can use a damp cloth later on. Get off any of your chalk marks. And then, so berries, let's do some up here. I feel like I need a taller canvas, or I need this to be farther down. Oh well. Yeah. We
so
can.
The tulips are dry?
Yeah, the tulips are dry now.
Okay.
Why you?
Joanna asks if the tulips are dry, and are you going too wet so you can blend the other color?
No, I'm going to use this red as the base, and then when I put my other colors in, I might add more of the red, but that'll be the like the undercolor for where the centers are going to kind of peek through. Okay, let's put some berries up here. Just a few. And I think that's good. So not as many berries on this one. And then we'll do our olive green, which was the, if you watch the other one, we mixed Ultramarine Blue and Cadmium Red or Cadmium Yellow Medium. And the Ultramarine Blue has a lot of like more of a purple tone. So when it makes a green, it doesn't make the vivid green like a Phthalo Blue is already on the green side of the scale. So when you mix it with the cadmium yellow, it makes a much brighter green. Here, I'll do one real quick. There's Phthalo Blue with some cadmium yellow. See how much brighter that green is. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but
Yep, you can for sure.
It's a lot brighter green. So we're using the olive version. I wanted to kind of have a neutral of some sort, since all these colors are so bright, so vivid. It helps to kind of have a neutral to sort of calm them all down. Now, guys, let's not get out of control. Like the neutral is like a gray or a olive color like this. A little bit more of a desaturated color will kind of help ground your painting and be like, okay, let's settle down, folks. You know, so a little bit goes a long way. It just, but I find that it helps. So if that makes sense. We're gonna put some there. And I think I'm just gonna use this brush. This is my number 2. I'm gonna make my leaves with it. It's like this party's getting a little out of control. We need a little olive green to come in and help settle things down. Give your eye a place to rest. I don't know. I just find it helps. I do it with gray sometimes, or even you could use like yellow oxide or yellow ochre. Does the same thing because it's more of a brownish kind of more neutral color, muted. Yeah, okay. Here we go. We'll add a little bit of highlights to those later, but it's kind of a fern almost, a little bit. Let's put a little something up here like that. And we'll do one down here. Just set your brush down, set it down and pull it. This one's not cooperating with me. You add a little bit of water to it just to make it a little bit more fluid. What you doing?
Karen asks if you do floats. Hope you know what that means. Do you ever do floats? Or load your brush?
Yes, yeah, I know what she's talking about. Yeah, like double loading, and yeah, definitely. I do. In fact, I have a video where I do that. Grab that black canvas right there. It's in the back. That one, this one, I did some floating, you know, and different things, like double loaded a few places, but this was a brushstroke demonstration video that I did. So, but this one, it's a little bit different style, you know, so it's a little bit more like of the Impressionist style, so I didn't do that on this one. But yeah, I do like to do that. In fact, that's what I learned, how I learned to paint, is doing the tool painting and stuff like that years and years ago. Okay, so it needs something right here. I don't really know what yet, but we'll figure it out. I'm gonna grab my round number 4, and I'm gonna put in some berries with the cadmium red. And actually, I think I might want to add a little bit of Quinacridone Magenta to it too, just to make it like more of a cherry red, like a really bright, more of a purpley red, but not quite as dark as the Quinacridone. Okay, that'll be good. I'm just going to set my brush down and kind of lift it off and do some little berry shapes. These ones were purple in our other video, so we're just doing a few more. I'm just trying to, since our main flowers are so different from the first video, I kind of filled in with some similar flowers and leaves, and that way they'll definitely mesh together too. So that's another design choice that I made. So because we kind of had these berry type flowers in the last video, I'm doing them again for this one, just for continuity's sake, but I'm changing the color. They're not purple this time, they're going to be these red color. So just, it's actually probably helpful, I think. I mean, you know, something different. I haven't ever taught this way before, you know, doing the double like sister paintings like this, because you can kind of see the whole design process, and I can talk about the choices that I'm making and why. So it's kind of fun for me because you get to see a different part of my process of creating. Right or wrong, you don't have to do it this way. That's just what I'm choosing to do. Just showing you how I make my design choices. Okay. Let me see. Okay, we'll keep going here. I feel like I've got a few bare spots, but we might just fill in with a few little asters or something. How's it going, hun?
Good. Lisa was asking if you do a Believe Land painting, and I thought I knew what she meant, but wasn't sure, and she confirmed that she's from Cleveland, Ohio.
Uh-huh.
And since they just won the NBA championship, and their baseball team's on a winning streak, it's a nickname for Cleveland.
Believe Land. I love that.
And so being like a cityscape and the
nice. Something. I like that idea. Believeland. That's great. I don't have one planned, but that's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now. I may decide I want to add something else up here, but I may just fill in some of these with some of our leaves and things. Okay, so let's start on our flowers here. Let's see. I think I'm going to use the flat brush, the long flat brush. This is like a 1/4 inch flat. You could use your number 4 round for this too. It would work as a substitute. And I'm going to grab my Cadmium Red Light here. And I'm going to start filling in my tulips now. If you want to go back in, you can draw in your centers of your tulips so that you don't go over those areas too much, because you want to leave those red. So I'm just going to start from the bottom of them and kind of pull some color up toward the top. Let me zoom in here. There we go. I don't know if you can see that color over the red very well. And then I'm going to grab some cadmium yellow light and mix myself a light orange. And then I'm going to use it and pull back down towards my thing. Where I'm coming around the side here, I'm going to just use it on its corner and pull around like that. And then I'm going to kind of use the flat edge right there. Okay, I'm going to let that set for a minute. Do my next one. Grab the cadmium red. Do the cadmium red light over the top here, from the bottom up. And then this light orange color. I'm pulling it down like that. Okay, we're going to add more details to these, so don't worry. They're going to look kind of weird at first. So not covering over all of my red there. I'm going almost to the top of the tulip, but not quite to the line. And then now I'm using this color and I'm gonna pull down over. This one I might leave a little split there, so it looks like that petal is kind of overlapped right there. Okay. And I'm not cleaning out my brush, so it's kind of full of both colors. And if you notice that I'm changing the direction, so these brush strokes are kind of curving along the outside edge like that, but then when I get to the middle, I'm straightening them out and doing them kind of more straight down, and then as I get to this side, I'm angling them this way so that they're curving, they're changing direction a little bit. These ones are curving this way, curve, curve, straight, curve this way, curve this way, curve this way. Makes sense? Okay, so now I'm going to go back in with my really bright and clean out my brush so I don't have any of that orange in there. And I'm going to grab my cadmium yellow light. If you don't have this, just add some white to your cadmium yellow medium. And I'm going to turn this over because I feel like it's easier to pull this down than to push it in the wrong other direction. So I'm turning it over and I'm going to just pull a couple of petals like that, just for like a little highlight, and go to the next one. Pull a couple of petals for some highlight.
The question was asked, how do you feel about using an extender or retarder?
Yeah, whatever helps you, honestly. If you, the extenders, I don't use them very often, but I've been told with the extenders, you don't want to use more than like 15% extender to paint ratio, or your paint will get oily and it won't stick. So just to keep that in mind. That's just something that I heard. But I don't use them myself because I don't like the feel of them. Maybe I was using too much and didn't know. But okay, so I'm going to zoom out so you can see all of them, what they're looking like. See, so they're already looking a little bit tulipy, right? tulipy, that's a word too, technical term. To make up my own words, obviously. Okay, so now I did a little bit with, I think it was cadmium red. No, it wasn't. I'm trying to remember what color I used. Clean out my brush really well. That paint is really sticking in there. There we go. Okay, white with my Cad Red Light. Yeah, that makes it kind of a soft orange color. And I'm going to use that also just in a couple of places. Kind of down lower, not up close to the highlight area, just for another layer of color. If your paint's starting to dry and it's getting sticky, just let it dry completely. Put it under the hairdryer and let it dry out completely, and then do this, because you don't want to pull up any colors underneath. Your acrylics act like a glue. When they start to dry, they get real sticky and they will stick to your brush. So you do not want to accidentally pull off. Let me see if I can mix my cadmium red to make a close cadmium red and cadmium yellow. I don't know, they just don't make the same color. You can make something similar to that, but it's really not the same at all. I don't know. It's just more vibrant. That's the thing. You could try an orange if you have a cadmium orange. You could probably add cadmium orange and cadmium red together to get a color similar to it. But
so we have Nettie Glavin from Slovenia joining for the first time. So I've been watching your videos and watching live as icing on the cake.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
And Gail asked, if you buy inexpensive or cheap canvases and there's weird bumps on them, can you cut them off?
Yes, I've done that before. Yes, you can. Yeah, if there's like little pieces of fiber sticking up, for sure, you can just cut them off carefully. And then if that's the case, I would re-gesso your canvas too, just to make sure that they're covered well. Because in cheap canvases too, the gesso doesn't tend to act normal, like normal gesso. It's kind of acts in weird ways sometimes. So.
And if you want to do yellow tulips, what colors would you mix?
Yellow, I would start out with. Or yellow tulips, I would start out with an orange underbase, and then do your yellows on top. So any of the yellows that you've got, like the cad yellow and the cad, but I would have your inside part be orange for a yellow tulip. Or if you don't want it really bright, you could use a yellow oxide or a dark yellow gold color for the center of your tulip with the yellow one. But yeah, I would use like cadmium yellow with cadmium yellow with the light and with white, mixes of both cadmium yellows with white. But having the darker color underneath is important. Otherwise, your yellows will just look flat if you try to put them straight on. You need a darker color underneath, especially with a color like yellow. So hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and put in our highlight color for our purple flowers. So that was Quinacridone Magenta and Ultramarine Blue to make a purple, and then grabbing some white to lighten it up. And I may even use my light ultramarine blue here also. I think I will probably, and maybe do a pink out of that. But yeah, that's good. We'll go ahead and put that over the top and let some of that dark color show through. This color's pretty dark still, so don't go too light right at first. We'll add a little bit more light highlight colors after this. This is just kind of our second layer. Now it looks a little bit more purple. Just adding little dabs with my filbert brush, letting the tip kind of make round dots. You can use your number 4 round too instead if you want. Try not to get too like perfectly cone shaped. So if I have an area that's like looking like a spear or something, I'll put a couple of dots like out randomly, and that kind of breaks up that outside edge and makes it a little bit more fluid looking. So kind of be aware of that when you're painting it. Just, you don't want to like do too much of this repetitiveness in and have your outside edges too perfect. There's more randomness in, you know, nature. Flowers and things are not like perfectly shaped every time. So I'm gonna just do that with all of these. I'm not double loading this time. You could double load with another pink. I'm just being lazy right now. This is just me doing. I just am getting it on there for now, and then by double loading, I mean like putting 2 colors on my brush at once. And honestly, it probably does save time in the long run. I just don't have the other color mixed right now, so I'm being lazy. That's good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and now we'll mix up a little bit of pink with our Quinacridone Magenta and white. And I still have a little bit of that purple in my brush, so it's giving it a little bit of a tint. Okay, so now we're going to go back. This will be our highlight color. We're just going to tap in a few highlights on that lilac. There we go. What are you laughing at? I always feel like I'm missing out when I'm painting.
A request has Stickman.
Oh, is the Stickman
come into view?
Stickman is celebrating the 4th of July today.
Stick him up here on the side.
He can be over here.
He's over there? Okay. Don't get any paint on him.
Oh, he'll get paint on him. I think I've decided I'm going to add to Stickman's story every time we do a video. We'll just add a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and fill in a little bit around this one here in that open space, just to give it a little bit more color down in there. And adding a few more dots on there. I might mess with it a little bit more. I'm going to let that set for now and move on and see. I feel like this one maybe needs something, but
ask if you're using a canvas sheet or a board.
This is a board. I bought these. I actually put a link in my description, not to this brand, but I got these ones off Dick Blick. But I can't link to Dick Blick. They don't have. I'm not in their program, so. But yeah, these are it's just a canvas board. I just have started using these for my videos just because they're cheaper, you know. But yeah, you can use a regular canvas too. I just, since I'm doing so many of these videos, I've just started using the canvas panels. They're a little easier and they're flatter and they don't bounce around as much. So, you know, when you get to going on them, get to painting on them, they don't have as much movement to them. So, which is good for when I'm filming. Oh, look what I just did. Don't do that. Don't dip into the wet paint and then all I was doing is trying to get my chalk off. But
are you using the spit to do that?
yeah, I'm using spit. I have a lot of spit in my paintings. If you buy one of my original paintings, there's probably some DNA in there somewhere. Use the lick and wipe method. Very technical, because I don't want to dip into my dirty paint water, so my paint water is all brown. Okay, let's see. Let's do our little asters. Let's grab my number 2 round for that. And this is that Ultramarine Blue light. I need to spray again. It's starting to dry out. You may want to, if you're doing this, you may want to just put out your paints as you need them and not put them all out at once. You know, like if you know you're going to not need this color until the end of the painting, save it and put it out later, because that way you know that it won't start to dry on you. I do need some more Ultramarine Blue though, ran out. Okay, so I will do some I'm double loading my brush here, so I've got like the lighter color on one side and the darker color on the other, and I'm just going to use that to draw in my asters. I'll go ahead and zoom in again. If you don't have this color, this is that the light Ultramarine Blue color. Just mix Ultramarine Blue with white, and it's the same color.
Angel wants to know, because any worse by cleaning your brush on a tissue and then blowing your nose?
Oh, oh, that's bad. Okay, I'm just going around and adding, trying to keep these all pointed down into the center here. So as you go around, just kind of keep your petals pointing in. I felt like I need more ultramarine again. There we go. So I'm just going outside the edges of where I already painted just a little bit so that I'm getting a good fuzzy edge. So don't get these too close together when you're putting the base coats in. That's why I left a little bit of space in there so that I'd have room to do these petals around and kind of go outside that edge a little bit. Okay, that one got a little out of control there. Not that far out. Okay. That better?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, be sure you put on some music when you're doing this at home. That's one of the things about doing these live shows that I really don't, or even the videos, that I really wish that I had some music playing. Sometimes I'll actually play music in my ear while I'm doing my videos, that so that I can kind of get in the mood. Music really helps me kind of focus and get into that creative mind space. So it's quiet in here today, but normally I would have my music going. Mark can attest to that. He's laughing because he knows it's true.
Plus, I'm not usually talkative anyway, so.
Yeah, he's not a real talkative guy. Well, he's being a good sport. Doesn't talk much, but he's pretty funny when he does. I enjoy his personality. We've been together for how many years now? Over 30, right? 30 years?
31.
31?
31 years.
Crazy. We met when we were teenagers. I wouldn't recommend getting married at 18 and 20, but it worked for us. So we didn't have good odds when we got married. I don't think Mark's family thought we were going to stay together very long.
It seemed natural for us, but now that we have kids, that age, it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, once our good boys got to be 18 and 20, we're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would be all that cool with this. Well, you've done okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, just my brush is a muddy mess now, but you get the idea. I'm not being really careful about how I am loading it. You know, if you're a decorative painter and you do a lot of this kind of double loading and stuff, you can be more careful with it than I am being. Probably. But this is kind of more impressionist. It's not supposed to be perfect, so leaving the center open, you can see, so because I'll be adding some yellow to that, so you don't have to go over the top of that. Now I'm going to go right over the top of my lilac with this one. Really spread them out a little bit so that he's a little bit bigger. And put a little bit of the lighter color in there too. I think I'm going to go over the top of my vase a little bit with him. Just a little bit. Make him a little bit bigger. Just adding some extra layering. Okay, that's good. Zoom out.
Tracy says that they were 18 and 20 when they got married too. 29 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So she knows.
They probably can't hear me. Sorry.
Oh, one of our viewers, Tracy, was saying that she got married at 18 and 22, and they're now married 29 years. She said.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So they got married earlier than us because we're 28 years. Okay. Now I'm just looking at it. This little hole there is bothering me. So, but I think the blue is okay. I think another blue might be overkill. I was contemplating putting another blue one right there, but I don't think I will. I think it's good. And I like the tulips. I think they're spaced well. So I think 4 was a good call on that. So let's add some leaves and maybe that'll help.
Clive joined in. Said,
Hi, Clive.
Said great collaboration on the Star Trek.
It was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Clive did. Clive's and I's, our visions for the paintings that we were going to do was very similar, and so I kind of changed mine a little bit. And I saw his Enterprise. He did a huge, very detailed Starship Enterprise. Is really awesome with planets and things. My thing was going to be planets and things, but my Starship Enterprise was going to be like in silhouette black. But then when I saw his, like with the planets and all that, I was like, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. Clive's got me beat there. So I went in a different direction and did like the Galaxy Nebula kind of thing, and then did the Starship real small, kind of coming out of it. So yeah, I showed a picture of it earlier, I think. So anyhow, yeah, that was a really fun collab. Clive is a great guy. He's from Wales over in the UK. So our timing was a little bit hard to figure out when we wanted to talk to each other, because it was always like either early morning or late night for him, or there was 6 hours difference, so we had to kind of figure out when we could chat. But it was good. I think I'm going to have him on one of my live shows eventually. We'll just have him in to chat with while we're doing something. We'll do another collab or something maybe. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. He's the only other painter that I've done a single collab with. I've done some with Cinnamon, and I've done some group collabs with other people, but this is my Vivid Lime Green, and I feel like it's not showing up all of that well against my yellow, so I was adding a little bit of the Phthalo Green to it to darken it up. That's better. Okay, so I'm setting my brush down. Let me zoom in here. And I'm just going to add some random leaves with this around my composition, and it'll help kind of fill in some empty spaces. So I set my brush, whoops, I gotta get closer. Set my brush down and turn it. Okay, let me change the angle. I know. I'm going to get a spot where I can do it in this direction so you can see it. Okay, so setting my brush down this way and then turning it this direction. So I've got it flat this way, and then I'm going to turn it on its side. Just make sure that your brush is coming to a point for you. So if you have too much paint on it, you might have to smush it down. So you want your brush to have a nice fine edge, chiseled edge. And I'm using a filbert for this, but you can use a flat brush. Set it down and then twist it so that it comes to a point. Okay, I'm going to do a couple of them right here. Maybe 3 of them just coming out. It doesn't matter which direction you twist it. You can twist it this way or this way, just whatever is comfortable for you. And it's actually probably easier to have it turned to the side when you do it, because that'll be a more natural feeling. But practice these. They're great for brush control. Great little practice. If you can do these brush strokes, you can pretty much paint anything, because it's all in the way you manipulate your brush. Okay, that's good. What, Kim was
just wondering if you're going to do anything more with the white flowers.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm saving them for last. They're the grand finale. I gotta save them. Oh yeah, they're gonna look like this when I'm done. So the white is just our beginning phase 1. These need to be darker, so I'm gonna grab some Phthalo Green and go back over those with some of that color, just to darken them up a little bit. Okay, that's better, looking good. Grab some. Okay, I'm going to mix up a turquoise with the Phthalo Blue and Phthalo Green, which I'm out of. Put some back out here. And I'm going to make this color. This is the color that I did for these leaves here and this other one. So I want to use that color again in this painting. So I'm going to use it as the shading on these leaves. I want to use all the same colors if I can. So just trying to find ways of incorporating the same color scheme into this new painting. So I'm just adding almost equal parts Phthalo Green, Phthalo Blue, and then just a tiny bit of white to brighten it up because they're so dark and concentrated. Okay, and then add a little bit of water because those are starting to get a little bit sticky. I'm going to use those on my leaves here. I'm just going to do a few lines on one side. These are very stylized, so I'm not trying to really blend them. I'm just putting a few like lines on the side that's closest to the bottom. So my highlight sides will have my the sides that are closest to the top will have my highlight color, and these sides that are toward the bottom, if you got one like this, just pick a side, it doesn't really matter. I can say that the light's coming from this direction, so just make sure that all of these that are pointing upwards have the shadow on that same side. If that makes sense. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my turquoise color and I'm going to give a second coat on those leaves because they were pretty. One coat's not quite enough. And then I'm seeing some of the yellow through in places. And then you can go over the top of your shadow color a little bit if you want. These ones on the vase had some white added in, so I want to go over those. Mark's busy typing over there. What are you typing about?
Talking about cameras. Mona's asking about the camera and working with Windows and stuff that you got Windows 8 and using an Elgato capture.
Yeah. I'm trying to find an editing program that's reliable. I bought a year of the Adobe Premiere, so I have to learn that now because my Corel was crashing on me. So, oh yay, joys of filming. I'm going to add another one right here. I feel like it needs one right there. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Let me see how long we've been going. Wow, we've been going 2 hours?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I need to speed things up here.
Not including the missed start.
That's true. We did start kind of late. Weird. Okay, let me speed things up here. Let's do our centers with the cadmium yellow light. This is the centers of our asters here. I'm just going to dot in cadmium yellow light to the centers. If you've got a craft paint, you probably want to do this with white and then do your yellow over the top of the white because it will not show up. In fact, I might add a little bit of white to it just to kind of make it a little bit brighter. There we go. And here again, if you don't have cadmium yellow light, you can use cadmium yellow medium. That's fine. I just used cadmium yellow light a lot in my other painting, so I want to have some of it in this one. And that's why I used it in the highlights on the tulips. Okay. Just dotting with the tip of my brush so that there's kind of an uneven. There we go. Aren't those cute? Any blue flower are my favorites. Blue flowers are just something about them I really like. Okay. Let's put in some highlights on these. Let's use that Quinacridone Magenta pink color that we had with the white and quinacridone mixture. Just going to go over all of these berries with a little bit of a highlight. And I think I want to go back in with another coat of yellow on here. So I'm going to grab this cadmium yellow light again and just do another little pop of that on my tulips to brighten them up even more. It'll really make them a little bit more dimensional. Keeping the brightest color right up against that opening. That's good. These are very, very simple tulips. They're not super detailed, so might do some more detailed ones in another tutorial, but this one is a little bit easier, let's go ahead and put some highlights on our leaves. I'm adding white to the Cobalt Teal, and I'm just going to lighten up that a little bit with that. What you got, hon?
Amy asked if you have a Monet style floral vase.
Monet style floral vase. This, I don't actually. No, you mean in another tutorial? Yeah, I don't. I need to. I really love him. Ginger Cook does a ton of Monet and master painting tutorials. I've shied away from them because of that, because I kind of didn't want to step on her toes a little bit, you know, too much. But I do absolutely love that kind of painting for sure. Okay, I think that that's good. Yeah, I think that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and do our center flowers. And I think, I'm trying to decide what brush I used. I think I used my number 4 round. I'm going to grab my Quinacridone Magenta. This is just straight magenta. And I'm going to mix it with my white to make a very soft pink color. Okay, and I'm going to do each petal kind of in succession. So I'm going to do the outside edges of it with this very light pink color, leaving just a little bit of the white showing around the outside edges. And then I'm going to grab the Quinacridone Magenta and come from the center and blend it out. And try to keep it in the middle part. So I brought the pink around the outside edges, and I'm doing the Quinacridone sort of in the middle there. And then do the next one with the pink around the outside. Pretty much fill in the whole thing with the light pink. But you don't have to go all the way to the middle, but just all of the outer edges all the way around to about like that. And then grab the Quinacridone and come in straight with lots of thick paint in your brush. Just boom. Very light pressure, pull it in to the middle. I'm going to add a little bit darker to that one. You want it nice and dark. So if the pink on your brush is messing you up, you could switch from one brush to another to do this. But that's why I'm doing each petal one at a time, because you want your paint to be nice and fresh. Otherwise, if you tried to do, you could probably do 2 or 3 of them at a time, but I wouldn't try to do all of this light pink first and then go back in and try to do the Quinacridone Magenta, because it wouldn't get this like blended thing happening with it. So just make sure that this pink is light enough. You really want it to be very, very soft pink. And that way you'll get a good contrast. If it's too close to your Quinacridone Magenta color, it won't contrast enough. It'll look too similar. I'm going back in and just adding a little bit more there. Okay, so grab and I'm just dipping in. I'm not really pushing down and pressing it into my brush. I'm just kind of dipping the tip in to pick up a little bit on the tip of my brush, because I don't want it to be like all the way through it. I just want it to kind of be loaded at the tip so it can come off. And that way I can grab the pink. Let me zoom in. There we go. And if you want to, you can leave a little bit more white showing through on the outside edge. You could grab some white and do white around the outside like that, and then do your pink in the inside. In fact, I think I'm going to do that over here because it got kind of dark right there. Okay, then grab my quinacridone just by dipping the tip of the brush into the quinacridone and then pulling it down. Dip the tip of it and pull it down. Keep that center nice and dark. Just quickly kind of setting it down and flicking it toward the center. I'm not really pulling it and pressing down, just flicking it. Not even really moving my hand from that center spot. That way you'll get kind of a nice little blend, but you won't have it over mixing. That makes sense. Good. If it's getting too dark, just add a little bit more white. And my brush still has that darker color in there, so every now and then I'm going to have to pick up some more white to make sure that it's not tinting my paint too dark. Grab a little bit on the tip and just flick it toward the center of your flower. And I'm kind of just starting in the same spot and then angling it out from there. Okay. I'm going to go back in there and just really darken that up, make sure that it's nice and dark where I want it to be. I'm going to turn it and make sure that all my petals look good. That one's kind of funky right there, so I'm going to grab a little bit more white and just go back over that and kind of straighten it out. Fix them a little bit. Nice things about lilies is that they're very streaky, so if you get any kind of stray random brush strokes like this, it's not going to look bad. It's going to kind of add to the effect. Let me go out right here. That's too dark right there. Okay, that's good. I think maybe fiddle with that one a little bit. Whoop, too much light color. There we go. Okay, let's do the other one. So light pink, and then quinacridone, full strength, straight into it, just to streak it. Just trying to keep my streak extended down the middle part there so that it doesn't get too close to the edges.
People are loving the painting, the colors, the yellow background.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, I let them vote on the background color. I don't know if I told you about that, honey. Yeah, in my Thankful Art group, I did a poll, and I told people that I was going to do a sister painting for the roses, the boho roses one that I'd done, and that I'm going to go ahead and do two at a time here. And that I was trying to think of a background color to go with it. So yellow, and then I think there was alizarin crimson, this like dark kind of Quinacridone Magenta sort of color was the second choice for the background. And then teal was the third, I think. So yellow was my first choice, so I'm glad it won, because that's the one I thought was going to look the best, and I really like how it turned out. Oops, wasn't ready for that yet. That's all right. Yeah, these lilies actually were the #1 voted flower in another poll that I did with Cinnamon on our Angeluni group on Facebook. We did a poll for the Mother's Day collaboration that we did with Leanne LaFleur and Jane, Painting with Jane, and Cinnamon Cooney, the art Sherpa, and I do Angeluni, Angela Anderson, Cinnamon Cooney. I actually came up with that name, I'm proud to say, when we were talking about doing our first collaboration, and she was like, well, we need a name, and I was like, about Angeluni. She was like, genius. So it's kind of become its own. It's actually a search term on YouTube now, which is hilarious. So anyhow, we did a vote for what flower, and lilies were actually #1, and none of us ended up doing lilies because of the way we did the voting. It ended up we all picked the flower that 3 flowers that we wanted to do, and then people voted again, and none of the top flowers, I think tulips was like 2 or 3 top pick, and tulips and lilies didn't get picked for the final videos. So I ended up doing an iris, so which I enjoyed. It was fun, but I'm glad to be getting to do. That's a long way of story to say. I'm glad I'm finally getting to do a lily, because I've been wanting to do one ever since we took that poll. And tulips too, so it's kind of 2 for 1. Here, let's zoom out. Hey, I'm not bad. I might need a little bit more light color in there, so I'm going to go back in with my white now. Still got a little bit of pink in the brush, so it's tinting it a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of lightly streak some white in toward the center a little bit. Not a lot. That may be too bright. Okay, let me take that back. That was too bright. There we go. I want room for our little dots. These stargazers have these little dots in them, so I don't want the dark color to be too far down so that I can add those little dots. So I'm just going to kind of tweak and add a little bit of white mixed with, it's kind of like probably 2 shades lighter than this one. It's still pink, but it's just, yeah, that's better. Okay, I don't want it, the white was too bright, too in your face. So I'm just kind of softening that up now. You can kind of see the difference between these two, and this one's, got just a little bit brighter colors around that edge. Softening it up a little bit. I'm just doing kind of the opposite of what I did with the centers here. I'm just kind of taking it and running it and flicking it over the top of that dark color. Taking it, running it along the edge a little bit, and then flicking a little color in over the top, just to soften up that transition of the darker and give it a little bit brightness along the edges. I mean, I could get really detailed with this, but I want to keep it very impressionist, so I'm not getting super technical with all of it. I'm just trying to keep it very loose. Work fast, kind of flick your brush quickly. Point all of them kind of toward the center. You can kind of curve them around out on the outside edges, but everything should kind of be focused toward the center there. I think that's good enough. So I'm going to grab the Phthalo Green now, and maybe a little bit of that lime green, and I'm just going to dab some color in the center of each of these. Dabbing a little bit of that dark green. I'm going to let that dry, and I'll do my little dots while that's drying. My paint is still wet, but I'm going to go in with thick paint, and I'm not going to press down very hard. So even if my paint is drying, it shouldn't lift. If you find that it is lifting when you do this, you can set your hairdryer on it, and not on it, but you know, blow dry it. And
but on your expert blow dryer.
I know, that's true. I didn't have any blow drying for you today at all because I pre-did my canvas.
Great.
I know. Sorry.
Claudia wants to know if there's an alternative to Cad Yellow Light.
It's a color that you cannot mix, but you can get something similar to it. Hand me my sheet there again. I'm just touching down my brush to make these little dots, and I've got my little number 4 round barely touching down to make these little dots. So Cadmium Yellow Light is here. Whoop, can you see it? Oh, it's got my zoom on, sorry. Cadmium Yellow Light is here. You can see Hansa Yellow Light is very similar to it. Cadmium Yellow Medium is much more orangey yellow. But you could try adding white to that, and maybe just add a touch of, if you have like a like I'm talking a minuscule little bit of green, like a phthalo green or something like that, might help brighten it up and give it that greenish tone. But it's a lighter version of cadmium yellow, but it's got a greener tone than the cadmium yellow does. So if you lighten cadmium yellow, it does this. It doesn't give you that bright, almost fluorescent day glow. You know, you can see these are the difference between the cadmium yellow light here and the cadmium yellow medium. Well, anyhow, that's probably not the best example. This camera doesn't have as good a color distinction as my other one does too, so I've got it zoomed in right now, but I don't know if that answered it. So yes, you can just add some white to your cadmium yellow medium, and maybe a teeny tiny bit of like phthalo green if you want that greenish tone. If not, you can just use the lighter version of the yellow. It'll be fine. It's one of the newer, I hadn't used it very often, but it's one of my new favorites, so I've really been using it more and more in my videos, because it does have, it's kind of like Quinacridone Magenta. It's just like, you just really can't mix it, you know, you can't. It's got such vivid qualities. I really love it. I'm keeping these dots just kind of randomly placed in this center area, and I'm kind of doing this invisible border around the outside, so I'm not getting them out too far toward the outside edges. So just trying to keep them, I don't know, that's probably 1/8 to 1/4 inch away from the edge there. And just do them random little dots. Cute. Okay, let's do the center here. I'm going to add a little bit more of this vivid lime green. Like I said before, the vivid lime green can be mixed with phthalo green and yellow. It'll make kind of a, I'm going to do a few dots of that in each one of these. And these also had kind of like this, each one of these petals had kind of its own little hub coming off. I'm not going to get too detailed though. I don't want it to get too bogged down in details, but There's kind of this weird thing going on like that. And then I'm going to switch over to my liner brush and use my cadmium yellow light. My paint's starting to dry, so it's sticking together. It's making this weird clumps. I need some white again. I keep running out of white. Okay. I'm going to grab some white and mix a light yellow color. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of this green and add it to that too. That is the, there we go. I want this kind of like really bright yellow green. Okay, and then add water to it. Your liner brush needs water. It will not work if it is. The bristles are so flexible with this heavy body acrylic paint, and they're so long and flexible that they will just flop around. The paint won't even come off of it really well unless you add a lot of water to it. So thin it down quite a bit. You can use fluid acrylics too if you have them. And we're gonna curve out some stems. So I'm kind of not quite right down in the middle, but I'm just gonna curve from, oh, there we go, thank you. I'm just gonna curve a few stems out. And then there's sort of like a weird central stem too that kind of comes up. I'm going to grab more of that lime green color and kind of do that. It's like a, is that the stamen? I don't know what the technical term is. I'm going to grab a little bit of phthalo green too. Add that to it so that it brightens it up a little bit. There we go. And then do like a little dot at the top of it. A little thicker. Okay. And we'll do more dots on these ones too, but they're just for now. And I'm just going to tap off the bottoms of them a little bit so that they're disappear a little bit. Okay, that's good. I'm going to move over here. So grab that color, and I'm going to do these ones kind of doing this direction. So not quite right in the middle, and I'm just curving a few lines from the center out. Do ones down here. We'll go ahead and do these all four. I'll give them, I don't even know how many. I guess I should have looked that up. I don't know how many they're supposed to have. So this is a pretend flower. This is a fantasy flower, so we can have as many as we want. And I'm just going to do my center little thingy right there. And the little tip of that right there. Okay. Looks good. And then to do the little cross pieces, or the little seed, I don't know, pollen, I guess they're pollinators, right?
Yeah. Stamen.
The pollen pods. I think the center one is the stamen, I think. I don't know. It looks vaguely phallic, but
We can see that schoolwork for us.
yeah. I'm adding just a little bit of the cad yellow light to it and maybe a touch of white. We'll see how this goes. If it doesn't show up, yeah, that's all right. I think that's showing up really good. Okay, so, and these are kind of sideways. They kind of, so take from your end of your thing and kind of do a T off the end of them like that. So that was this was cadmium red, cadmium yellow, cadmium red light, cadmium yellow light, and a little tiny bit of white. There we go. Let me zoom back out. Cute. All right, now I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight to them. So I'm just going to go in with some white and do another little dot of white over the top of them to brighten them up.
Just confirm they're called stamen. Stamina?
These are called stamen?
Stamina? Something like that. Stamina, stamen.
And
Well, have to be better educated.
I know. I know, I had to be educated about giraffe horns, the antlers or whatever off the top of the giraffe. Somebody told me the name of them, and it was a name I'd never even heard of. It was some cannula or something like that. I don't know. I was like, well, I'm glad somebody knows, because I certainly didn't have a clue. Obviously, I was way off. Okay, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to call it done, and I'm going to splatter it with black. You can leave this part out. Some people weren't excited about the black splatters, but I thought it added a lot. I loved seeing all of y'all's paintings of the first version of this, so I'm hoping y'all try the second sister painting as well, because I'd love to see what you do. But there were so many different versions of it. Some people did different color backgrounds. Some people did, different vases. Yeah, there were a lot of variations on the vases, different colors of vases, and the flowers were all pretty similar. But it's just really fun. This is the kind of thing that makes me want to do videos, is when I see you all painting and using my videos to do something and that you're proud of. That's what makes me happy and keeps me wanting to create new videos for you. I'm just using my what kind of brush is that? Fan brush. Thank you. Oh, I'm getting tired. I can't come up with the name of brush. Fan brush there, and just tapping off a few little random splatters. And I think we're good. Do you see anything else? I didn't add these. I did have some little random dots. Those were cadmium yellow red light. So if you want to do those, go for it. I just left them off of this because I feel like I added the extra tulips, so I didn't think it needed any more extra orange after doing that. So anyhow, hope you've enjoyed this painting. Thank you so much for, give it a thumbs up. Oh, that's right. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment. Let me know what you liked, what you'd like to see in other videos, and join me on Thankful Art and Facebook if you want to interact with me a little bit more. I'm losing my voice. I'm glad I'm ending. Thanks so much for all of you who watched live. I really appreciate it. Oh, Witzel. All right, I gotta go. I lost my voice. Okay. We'll see you next time. Bye.